you first become the vice president, and first I interviewed you at the convention.
The very first interview I did as the VP nominee.
The first interview, thank you. And we had an interview right after you got sworn in. You're almost on the job a full year. Tell me about the job. And by definition, you have to be ready at a God forbid, moment's notice.
Sure.
I think that's a heavy weight to put on anybody's shoulders. Obviously, if you obsess about it, I don't think that'd be healthy. You seem to go with the flow pretty well. Do you have quiet moments you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, Sean, I try not to. I mean, one, I serve under Donald Trump, who is very healthy.
He casts a pretty big shadow.
He casts a big shadow, but if I served under Joe Biden, I'd probably be worried every minute of every day that he was going to croak and that I'd have to become president. But because I serve a president...
You have a bat phone. Okay,
exactly.
Did it just happen?
Like, I'd never be able to sleep. I'd always have my cell phone as loud as possible. But no, the president, one, you know, he's got a lot of energy. He's extremely healthy. So I don't think about that. Obviously, that's part of the job, is you've got to be ready if tragedy strikes. But the thing that I try to do, Sean, is I just try to be as much of a force multiplier for the president and the whole administration. You know, if the president needs to talk to 10 people in Congress, he can only make 5 of those phone calls. I can make the other 5. If the president needs to meet with a business leader, but he can't meet with them because he's meeting with somebody else, then I can meet with that person. If the president needs somebody to go visit a factory, he can't do it for one reason or another, then I go and do that. And what I try to think is, so long as the president trusts me, and so long as I'm loyal to the president in return, then he can just have me go and do something and not worry about whether it's going to get done, not worry about whether somebody's going to blab to the media about it. That's the way that I try to approach this job, is the best use of my time is to be a force multiplier for him in the administration. That's what I've tried to do. I think that it's worked out really well so far. But part of that is also the president you serve under. You know, when you talk to people about the job of vice president, it can either be a really high impact job, a real partnership with the presidency, or it can be a job where you sit around and hope the phone doesn't ring. And because the president trusts me and because of the way that he does his job, he's made it possible for me to be very involved in the business of running the country. That's an awesome thing. It's an exciting thing. I pinch myself every day. I mean, look where we are, this beautiful room. And I try to remember that it's a great honor and a great blessing to serve, and I just try to do the job that I can every day.
The last place my parents ever thought I'd be. I'm just visiting. What have you learned from President Trump? I mean, he is a force of nature.
He is.
I've known him 30 years. What have you learned from him?
You know, a few things. Number one, the president is amazing at compartmentalizing things. When something is going on, there's always a crisis. The very best day in the West Wing, there's at least one crisis somewhere in the world that somebody's putting at your desk. The president has an incredible ability to sort of say, okay, focus on that for 15 minutes and then go and focus on something totally different for 15 minutes. That's not naturally how I am. If something bad is going on, I tend to want to think about that thing and solve that problem before I go on to something else. The president is incredible at that compartmentalization. I think that's one of the reasons why he can handle 10 different problems at once, is because he's able to troubleshoot and then move on to the next thing, troubleshoot and move on to the next thing. The second thing that I've learned from the president, Sean, and I've tried to absorb it as much as I can, and I think some of this is just who he is and his natural instincts, is he has better instincts about human beings than anybody that I've ever met. And again, the president of the United States, you think about this, you can't read every briefing and every detail about every single topic. 100 different things are coming into the Oval Office every hour, right? So part of it is you've got to be able to trust the people around you to delegate and to execute. But to have that trust for people, you've got to have very, very good instincts. And the president has an amazing ability to know when somebody's trying to get something over on him, when somebody's actually thinking about things in the best interest of the country. It's almost a supernatural ability to read human beings. And I've tried to learn as much as I can about it. And again, some of that is just his innate ability. Some of that is something that I think that you can pick up. And I've tried to pick that up as much as I can, because it's amazing, Sean. Let me give you an example. There was a time where there was a meeting that I couldn't go to again because I think I just had to be on Capitol Hill related to the big, beautiful bill. And I was really worried that I wouldn't be in the meeting because I knew what the people in the meeting were going to say, and I was worried that I couldn't push back against it. And I remember talking to the president about it later, and he knew exactly what they were going to say. He knew exactly what their angle was. He knew exactly what their motivation was. And he reads people and tries to use, it's almost he's able to use people's own motivations to figure out whether they're trying to get something that's good for America or whether they're trying to get something that's good for them. And obviously, if it's good for America, he's all on board. If it's just good for them, he's going to be a little bit more skeptical. But that capacity to figure that out, I think it's why he's such an effective leader and why he's such a good president.
To be able to compartmentalize is a skill. To have discernment also, I think, is a gift.
Sure.
And I kind of feel like a lot of my life I've had the ability to read people very well.
Yes.
And it's served me well in my life.
I think that I have that ability too, but I think the president takes it up to a totally different level. His discernment is really remarkable.
The energy level is beyond. I mean, I went on a golf trip with him. 17 hours there, 17 hours back, and he's awake the whole time.
It's unbelievable.
And he expects you to be awake.
Well, it's unbelievable. It's actually, I joke with some of the cabinet because the president and I can't travel together. That's one of the things, right? We're never on the same airplane.
Right.
And they're always like, you're very lucky.
You like that? Yeah,
well, they're always saying, you're so lucky because if we go on a 20-hour trip somewhere, he doesn't sleep the entire time. And of course, if he's not sleeping, if he's working, he expects everybody else to be working too. Right. So again, the energy that the guy has really is off the charts. But again, you've got to have that level of energy to do this job successfully. For all of Biden's problems and all the policy disagreements that I have with the Biden administration, I really do wonder, was Biden able to stay on top? Did he have the physical and mental ability to stay on top of everything that comes through his door?
Answer.
The answer is no, of course not. And that's the one thing that, agree or disagree with President Trump about a given issue, every Democrat and every Republican, I think deep down would recognize this is a guy who has the energy to do the job. That's a very, very rare thing, but that's who you should be electing President of the United States, somebody who's got the energy for it.
I'm not asking you to answer this question, but I am giving you a preview of coming attractions. Okay. So hopefully I'll be back a year from now, and there's no avoiding the question.
Okay.
Because we will have just gotten through the midterms.
Sure.
The 2 days after the midterms, we get into a cycle.
Yep.
Meaning 2028.
Of course.
Have you thought at all? I mean, I would think it has to go through your head. You're in the Oval Office every day. I'm sure, the times that I've been there to visit and they throw me out is, I pinch myself. I never thought as a kid growing up, my mom was a prison guard, my dad a waiter and a family court probation guy. I'd ever be in that building,
It's
right?
an amazing country, isn't it?
Amazing country.
Yep.
Somebody made a mistake. But, but in all seriousness, this is coming fast.
Sure.
Thinking about it all?
I would say that I've thought about what that moment might look like after the midterm elections, sure. But I also, whenever I think about that, I try to put it out of my head and remind myself, the American people elected me to do a job right now, and my job is to do it. And if you start getting distracted and focused on what comes next, I think it actually makes you worse at the job that you have. And here's what will happen. I mean, look, we're very focused on the midterm elections. I think because what the president has set in motion is a long-term economic revitalization effort for this country, I really want us to win the midterms, because if the Democrats get in power, they're going to try to screw up a lot of the great things the President of the United States has done over the past 10 months. Again, trees that have been planted, some of which won't even bear fruit for a few years. I don't want the Democrats to screw that up. So we're going to win the midterms. We're going to do everything that we can to win the midterms. And then after that, I'm going to sit down with the President of the United States and talk to him about it. But let's focus on the now, because we've got well over a year to do as much as we can for the American people. And my attitude, Sean, is look, if we do a good job, the politics will take care of itself. If we do a terrible job, the politics will take care of itself in the other direction. So I'm just going to focus on the job that I have.
I found it a really interesting and actually intriguing comment that you made, saying that Marco Rubio is your best friend in the administration.
Yeah. And by the way,
and some people I would think would naturally think, well, maybe they might eventually one day be rivals. I didn't get that impression at all in your comment.
I don't feel like that at all. And I mean, look, if Marco eventually runs for president, then that's we can cross that bridge when we come to it. But one, look, if you get to a
Donald
situation,
Trump wants to design the next ticket.
I
You
know he
that.
does. I
He'd
know
like
he
to
does.
take control of that.
Yeah, but but people have asked me, well, do you see Marco as a rival? First of all, if either one of us end up running, it's a long ways in the future, and neither of us is entitled to it. So I think it would be ridiculous for me to say, well, Marco's a rival. No, no, no. Marco's a colleague. The President of the United States has asked each of us to do two very important jobs, and that's what we should focus on. And there's, when I say that Marco's my best friend, that's no insult to anybody else in the administration, because, when I came into the Senate, Marco was a bit of a mentor to me. He's one of the younger guys in the Senate. He's got, by the standards of Washington, he still has a young family. He's got kids who are in law school and college. And so there's just a lot of commonality that we have. We're both people of very strong faith, and our wives get along well. It's just, he's a good guy. And I like coming to work with him, and I like talking to him about the things that confront the administration, confront the presidency.
We don't need to drag it out.
But let me just say one other thing about this. Here's why the presidential focus, the 2028 focus, I think is bad, is because if you wake up in my job or anybody else's job asking yourself, what's good for my future a few years down the road, you're not going to do a good job right now. The question that I try to ask myself is, what is good for the president, the administration, and the American people right now? That's what I have to be focused on. And I think so long as I do that, again, politics will take care of itself.
I think it's a good message for everybody. Honestly, do your job. If you want to think about something else,
do your job.
Do your job that day. I think that's a good message for everybody.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.